Hi and good morning. I'm Callum, the Head of Managed Services here at GHM Communications, and thank you for joining us this morning to discuss how to protect your care home against phishing and scams. And I'm joined today by Nicola Sloan, who's the UK Partnerships Manager at Phriendly Phishing, who are our trusted partner here at GHM for delivering phish threat security. So in terms of what we're going to be covering, we'll start with what is phishing. Some of you may have heard of it already. Some of you may have fallen victim to it, but we'll really get under the hood and tell you all about what exactly it is. The consequences of being reeled in by a phishing email, the different types of phishing attacks. Sadly, there are many, many different types out there, and Nicola will go into great detail about what they are, how to turn the tide, and how to educate your staff and residents. And we'll also be emailing you a really useful poster after the webinar that contains loads of other great tips that you can share with your team and even put around your home if you'd like. So with that, I will pass you over now to Nicola. Thank you.
Thank you, Callum, and thank you for the introduction. So, as Callum said there, I'm actually the Partnerships Manager for Phriendly Phishing, a security aware training and simulated phishing provider. We work with companies all over the world to help protect their organisations and their staff against the problems that phishing emails can cause. So, what I'm going to hopefully do today is address the big question that most organisations have, and that's really, if I go to work and my company has technology in place, then I don't need to worry about phishing attacks, do I? The answer to that is, well, actually, you do need to worry about phishing attacks, because no matter how good the security is within your organisation, we know that on average, 15% of phishing emails will still get through to your users. And if they interact with those phishing emails, they can cause all sorts of nasty problems. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to educate your users, how to create a security culture, and what to look out for, really. So what's phishing? Okay, well, basically, cyber criminals are just really good actors. So what they're going to do is they're going to pose as somebody from a known or trusted source, and they're going to be sending an email to your employees, and they're going to be requesting that they do something that they ought not to. Okay, so it's going to be one of the following four things. It's going to be clicking on a link, opening an attachment, entering their credentials, or transferring money. Okay, none of which we want people to do. Okay, so when this happens, the recipient will unwittingly be logging into a malicious website or downloading malware. One thing to remember is it's quite easy to spoof an email address or domain name. So it's quite easy for cyber criminals to create an email address that looks like it's an email address that's from your organisation or from a known retail site, for example. So there's lots of things that we can look out for, really. So what are the dangers of interacting with phishing emails in a care home? So the first thing is data loss. Okay, so if a cyber criminal is able to get into your system, okay, they can then steal data, and that data could be about the patients that you have within the care home. It could be about your staff. It could be about the workings of your organisation. And obviously, we don't want any of that data to be leaked. Okay. The second thing could be financial loss. Okay. The third thing is reputational damage. And obviously, with something like care, reputation is so important. So making sure that you're squeaky clean and cyber safe is really, really important. The last danger really within a care facility would be that there could be a reduction in the level of care if a cyber attack were to happen. And I'll explain why that could be. If a cyber criminal were to be able to get into your systems and lock them all down, it would mean that none of your staff would be able to access any of your systems or any of the information in there. So if you have patient care information, medication information in there, then none of that would be able to be accessed. So we're going to go through the types of things that you can be advising your employees and residents to do to protect themselves and your care home. What I'd like to also speak a little bit about is generative AI as well, or Gen AI. And this is, you know, a huge new leap in technology that's really affecting phishing attacks now. So we've all been used to using traditional AI for absolutely years. So if you think about autocomplete in your text messages, or search engine results that come up when you go onto a search engine, personalized recommendations on shopping websites, Alexa devices in your home that's selecting music based on previous choices that you've made, these are all examples of traditional artificial intelligence. Okay, generative AI, or Gen AI, represents a major evolution in artificial intelligence. Gen AI tools are designed to create new content that resembles human-made content. Okay, so that could be text, images, code, or voice. So while Gen AI tools can help make your job easier, scammers can also leverage these types of tools against you, which obviously makes their crimes harder to spot, but easier to commit. So by creating more authentic phishing emails, they're making it harder for people to be able to recognise them. So phishing in the care industry. So I know that there are a number of challenges in care that certain other sectors don't face. So part of that is modest cybersecurity budgets and limited IT support, outdated systems. We know that funds are often allocated towards operational and care rather than measures to help with cybersecurity. And one of the challenges, again, is reaching shift workers, bank staff, and those people with limited IT knowledge. So I'm going to speak about the different ways that we would recommend imparting this knowledge on those types of people, and making any cybersecurity training or culture that you administer within your care home available and scalable for all of the workers there. One thing to remember is that cyber criminals are unfortunately select organisations that they perceive to be easy targets. So let's talk about the types of phishing emails that are out there. So this has evolved quite a lot over the number of years that I've worked in cybersecurity. So the first type of phishing email that we see is a mass market email. So this isn't a particularly clever type of email. It's an email that will go out to tens or hundreds of people, generally with quite a basic message. So it could be a message that says it's from your bank or your Amazon account. It could be something like saying that your account's been compromised, so you need to click on a link just to confirm whether or not it was you that accessed the account. Okay, so that's not particularly clever, goes out to lots of people. We call it a spray and pray within the industry, but people do still fall for them. The second type of attack is more targeted. So this is a spear phishing attack. So this is where the cyber criminal is going after a specific target. So that could either be an individual or a department within the organisation. Now, look, we know that there are certain departments within companies that cyber criminals will target more than others. So that's C-level people, finance people for obvious reasons, they hold the purse strings, and HR as well. Okay, so a spear phishing attack will be a little bit more sophisticated. So I'll give you an example of what one could be. A cyber criminal could pose as being an applicant for a job that's been advertised within your care home. Okay, so they send in an email to your HR contact. Okay, that they found the details of because the job's advertised. Okay, and they attach something that looks like a CV. But the attachment that looks like it could be a CV could be a malicious attachment, and by opening that attachment, you could be downloading malware. So that's a spear phishing attack, or an example of a spear phishing attack. The next type of attack that we see quite often is a CEO fraud or business email compromise. So this is where somebody is impersonating a C-level person within your organisation and sending a message to the team and asking them to perform an action. Okay, so it could be transferring money, for example. One example of a CEO fraud incident that I saw recently was an organisation where the finance person had received a message from the CFO asking them to go and purchase some vouchers online to use as rewards for the staff within the organisation, for good work or for working overtime or what have you. But it turned out that the site was false that the finance person was sent to. So if they had purchased the vouchers, they wouldn't have received the vouchers and they would have lost the money. But thankfully, they recognised the fact that it was a scam just in time. Angler phishing is another type of attack that targets people on social media or community sites. So this happens when an individual has raised a concern about a service that they've received. So it could be, again, from a retail outlet or from a bank or something. So the cyber criminal will respond to this by setting up a profile to look like they are a person from the company that the individual is complaining about. They'll contact the individual on the social media and say, my name's Bob, I'm from ABC Bank. I'm here to help you with the problem that you're having. Let's direct message or let's get on a call. At which point Bob from ABC Bank, who's the cyber criminal, will be asking that individual for details about their account or asking them to click on links, for example. So that's angler phishing. Catfishing is something that it's a little bit different, something that we covered quite a lot last month for Valentine's Day. So this is where people pose on dating sites with a fake identity, often posting pictures of somebody that's far more handsome or beautiful than they actually are to try and lure people in. The other type of attack is a ransomware attack. So this is where a cyber criminal is able to access the network within your organisation. And when they access the network, they lock down all of your systems, which means it's impossible for you to access the systems. And they ask for a ransom or a payment in return for your systems being unblocked. Okay, so that's a ransomware attack. Phishing basically is voicemail phishing. So this is where a criminal will call you and ask you to give them details of, I don't know, account details or personal data. Smishing is an SMS or a text phishing attack. So it's we're seeing quite a lot recently of text messages or WhatsApp messages coming through to people saying, hi mum, it's me, I've lost my phone and I'm in trouble, can you click on this link or can you call me on this number to help me? And so we're seeing that quite a lot. So that's an SMS attack. And then the final thing is QR phishing or crishing, if you will. So this is where cyber criminals will embed a malicious link within a QR code. So we're all far more used to using QR codes now. I think especially since the pandemic, we've got used to using them in restaurants and bars and things like that. So what cyber criminals essentially are doing is sticking a malicious QR code over the original QR code. So it's just really, the reason I mentioned this one is just to remember to check the link that you're taken to from a QR code, not just from an email. Okay, so lots of different types of phishing emails there, and this may be quite overwhelming to see that there are such a number of different types of attacks. But the basic advice that we give is all the same on how to combat these and how to recognise them. So don't worry too much. Here's some examples of some phishing attacks. So in number one there, you can see that somebody's been asked to verify their banking details. But when this person clicks on or hovers over the link within the email that they've been sent, you can quite clearly see that it's taking them to a destination that doesn't actually relate to the link that they think they're going to. So they think they're clicking on your bank, but they're being taken to this is not your real bank.com. Okay, so always hover over the link. The second one Here is about an Amazon account where your Amazon account, shock horror, has been deactivated due to recent suspicious activity. So you need to click on this link to be able to free up that account. And then finally, here's one that's asking somebody to open an attachment there as well. So there's just some examples. So how can we deliver long-lasting cultural and behavioural care within a care home? Okay. So the first thing, these are tips for your staff and for your residents. Okay, so the first thing that we would ask people to do when they receive an email is check the sender. Okay, if the email address doesn't look right, then don't interact with that email. Okay. The second thing is to check the content. So we know that cyber criminals have become more and more sophisticated over recent years, but unfortunately they still struggle with their spelling and their grammar. With the introduction of generative AI, this could become more difficult to recognise though, because with generative AI, cyber criminals are able to make emails look like they've come from a different person and use the type of language or slang that other person uses. But check the content, check for urgency. Urgency is a major way that cyber criminals convince people to interact with their tricks. So you need to click on this link by 12 o'clock today, or we're going to close your account, for example. Wherever there's urgency in an email, step back for a minute, check who it's come from, check to see if it looks legitimate, and you know, phone that person, you know, phone the bank, phone the person it's come from, or send a separate email. Don't respond to that email, send a separate email to that person to see if it's been legitimate. Like I said to you before, check on any links within an email. So hover over the link to find the true destination. If the destination link is different to the link within that email, don't click on it. Check attachments. And finally, if anything looks suspicious or malicious, report it. So contact your IT department or a manager and say, I've got an email that I'm not sure about, but close the email and do not interact. And then finally, the way that we recommend care homes embed training into their culture is by following these steps that we've laid out here. So the first thing is to explain to the staff within your organisation or within your care home why you're introducing training. So why are you going to start to help them understand more about phishing, to make them aware of the fact that there are dangers both at work and at home as well. So as much as people don't want to click on a link or interact with a phishing email in work, they certainly don't want to do it in their personal emails either, because that could affect obviously somebody dipping into their bank or their retail accounts or something like that. So explain why you're going to be the benefits of training. And then the second thing is to take an empathic approach, because not everybody is particularly technical. Okay, not everybody knows what phishing is. And we recommend taking a train, not trick approach. So, you know, letting people know that you're going to be helping them and that you understand if they make mistakes, you know, that you're there to help. The third thing is offer engaging content. So if you're going to train people on anything, okay, use short courses where people are not going to be put off by the amount of time that they're going to be taken away from their day job. Use short courses, use relevant training, and keep it fun and engaging so that it sinks in. We recommend training quarterly, because organisations that train once a year, generally after 3 or 4 months, people can't remember what they've learned. So if you are enforcing the training every quarter, just with a 5-minute course, something like that, then it's something that will help sink in. And in care homes as well, we also recommend visual aids as well. So putting up posters or using screensavers and things like that that remind people about how to be safe online, we find are really, really effective. The next thing is testing user knowledge. So training is great, but how do we know if that training has sunk in? So what we recommend is sending out a fake or a simulated phishing attack to all of your users once a month. And By doing that, you're going to be able to see who interacts still with a phishing email after the training. Okay, anybody that interacts with the phishing emails should receive remedial training. Okay, it means that they need more help. We recommend randomizing the templates and delivery times for phishing attacks. So when you send out that fake phishing attack to everybody within your organization, rather than sending out an email, the same email to everybody, okay, send everybody a different template. So where Callum may receive an email that says it's from the CEO asking them to transfer some money, I may receive an email that says it's about a uniform change. Okay, so by randomizing the types of messaging that people get, it makes it more difficult for them to recognize the fact that it's a fake attack that's been sent out within the organization. The next thing that we recommend is give employees a way to report suspicious looking emails. We offer something called a phish reporter button at Phriendly Phishing, and it's basically a button it's an add-in to your Outlook, to your email, and it's just a button that appears in the ribbon at the top. So when somebody receives a suspicious looking email, they can just click on that button and it takes the email safely and securely out of the inbox and delivers it to the mailbox of the company choice. The next thing is find a way to report on engagement with training and phishing tests. Okay, so we want to know who's taken the training, who's passed and who's failed, who's clicked on the phishing emails. And by doing that, by finding a way to report on those things, okay, we're able to see which employees pose the most risk within your organization, okay, and offer them more support and more help. The next thing that we recommend is making it a game. Okay, rather than beating people with a stick, offer them a carrot. So say that you're going to be doing some training and you're going to be doing some testing, and the people that achieve a highest score for the training receive a box of chocolates, for example, or leave half an hour early on the Friday. Okay, make it a game. And then finally, we would say add security awareness into your policies. So when people are signing company policies, add the fact that they agree to take security training and adhere to any cybersecurity measures that you put in place within your care home as well. So the impact on changing the culture and adding training and testing to your care home is significant. Okay, so we know that when an organisation joins us, on average, the number of people that will be prone to interacting with phishing emails is around 30%, which is quite a big window for cyber criminals to take advantage of. Okay, now we know that with regular training and phishing testing, okay, the users, we're able to reduce that that percentage down to around 5% in most cases. We can't ever reduce or remove the risk completely, because human error will always will always mean that people will make mistakes, but we can certainly arm your employees with all the information that they need to be able to make smart choices. So I'm going to go back to Callum now, and I'd like Callum to maybe speak about some of the questions that you often get asked, Callum, when it comes to security awareness within an organisation.
Yep, that's a really good idea. I have listed out a handful of questions, if you don't mind. The most common questions that I do get asked about phishing and about the service itself. So if that's okay with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Fire ahead. So I've listed here, can this solution be used to support our cyber insurance and cyber essentials?
Absolutely. So quite often when companies apply to have cyber insurance, one of the criteria is that they train and test their employees on how to recognise phishing emails. It's also one of the criteria for cyber essentials and ISO as well. And another thing to bear in mind, in the event of an organisation having a data breach, if they are investigated by the government body, the ICO, okay, to look into why that data breach happened, one of the things that they will look at is whether employees are trained on how to recognise threats online. Okay, and if you can prove beyond unreasonable doubt that you are taking all the steps necessary to be able to avoid these types of phishing attacks happening, it definitely works in your favour as well.
Okay, great. Also, how do you add users if the training has already taken place?
There's two ways of adding users to our platforms. The first way would be to create an Active Directory sync. So that means that it's updated every 24 hours. So if somebody new joins the organisation, they automatically receive all the training that their colleagues have already had. Okay, so rather than you needing to remember to assign them training, they automatically receive the training. Okay. The second way to add users would be manually. So if you were adding users manually, then you would just assign the training at the time of adding them into the platform.
Okay. And those training courses and modules that you've mentioned, how long are they?
They're all between 2 and 15 minutes in length, so they're all short courses. We update our courses all the time, and we're constantly adding new content to be able to reflect the different threats that come up in the modern world. Like we've just actually added a course on generative AI as well, so people can recognise that and QR phishing and things like that. And it's important to remember that you don't have to assign the same training to everybody within the organisation. Everybody can have different training, okay, and different learning paths as well. And another thing that while we're speaking about sort of it's not a one size fit all type of approach. The other thing that's quite important to point out as well, Callum, at this stage is when we send out phishing attacks, we have different levels of sophistication of the types of attacks that we send out. And when we start working with an organisation, we start with the most basic types of attacks, and then only when individuals are able to recognise the basic type of attack do we then increase the level of sophistication of the attacks that we send. Okay, and everything in the platform is automated as well. So when an organisation comes on board, the regular phishing attacks that go out, they're automated to go out every month. And we set up the training plans for everybody when a customer first comes on board as well. So it's all quite light touch after customers come on board.
Nice, thank you. You actually answered two more of the questions I had there.
Good.
So you've saved me some time. And I guess the final question to ask is, how do you license the product?
Yeah, so it's per user,
okay,
per year. Okay, and we generally recommend that customers take a 2 or a 3 year subscription with us as well.
Brilliant. They're all the questions that I had, Nicola.
Fantastic. Okay, so obviously if anybody has any further questions that they would like to send in to Callum, then I'm happy to answer them individually. But thank you so much, Callum, for inviting me to speak about security awareness training today, and I hope that the information's been useful.
That's quite all right. Thanks a lot. Cheers, Nicola.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.